Greetings, dear ones. I am Kryon of Magnetic Service. Again, we are here in a way that may seem strange to many. I want you to get used to hearing this voice. I want you to understand the reality that is here. You would ask yourself, human being, is this real? You might say, Kryon, I'm having a hard time believing that you're really channeling and that the voice comes from the other side of the veil. It's so difficult. If that's what you're saying today, human being, I will say, blessed are you. For these are honest words coming from one who is struggling to work out of the three-dimensional box. And what happens is that slowly, if you ask the right questions of your own self, of your own belief, of your own psyche, you start getting shown things you didn't expect. For if indeed it is a quantum experience on the other side of the veil, if indeed I am linearizing this conversation and presenting it to my partner, if this is true, this is a quantum experience. And that means that language is only a small part of it. That the audio that you would hear or the words that are seen on the page, such a small part of it. We have spoken of something called the third language. This third language, identified some time ago, is not a language in linearity, which is the third one. It is a language of the catalyst of the three. We use the three in numerology to represent a catalytic action number. That is to say that all of you have the ability to receive what is being given at a level which is quantum and not language, and not words on a page. Even the reader of this particular message can ask for a quantum experience and be in the session with those who are in the session. Art and music. We've told you that they are quantum. We have told you how you could go into the Louvre and watch a painting. That you can immerse yourself so completely that you can see and feel the artist creating it. That you become one with the creator of the painting. So much is there that is not for the human eye. And this is the one who appreciates the art. Music touches your very soul. All of the notes playing together in unison, in harmony. It is one of the only arts where all of that can be presented together and there's no limit to the number of musicians on a stage. But you can't do that with speech, can you? No limit to the number of colors on a palette. You can't do that with speech, can you? There's a little bit of quantum in everything, if you look. So look for it here before we start a message that is not going to be a quantum one filled with love necessarily, although it is. But we're choosing to do something unusual. We're going to give you some science. We've chosen perhaps an odd place for that. But we haven't. For we think in a quantum way. We wanted to come to this place. We want to honor those who built this building. We want to honor the ancestors who are listening. We've come to a very quiet place in the stillness of a Southwest. In order to give a message of clarity, of purity, so that others will also receive it in that fashion. So it is not about the message at all, it is about the delivery. It is about the energy of where you sit. It is about the preparation that we give my partner sitting in this place. And so we will. When we give a scientific message, when we give suggestions, I ask my partner to go very slow. Some of this has been revealed to him and some of it has not. I ask him to proceed slowly, for it will be seen and read clearly, and much will be seen around it. For what follows in this message is not just esoterics. There will be a practicality, and there will be physicists looking at it. And that makes my partner nervous. It is not going to be complex. For even the one sitting in the chair who doesn't understand science will still receive what they need to receive through the third language, and will understand why these things are being given. And all through this, the entourage which is poured into this place, which represents the ancestors of all of you, resounds even with the builders of this building, of the consciousness that allowed it to be planned so many years ago, for the display of ceremonies that it has on a regular basis, and what that means to the earth and the land, to continue to hear the ancients giving the sounds that they have given for so long. All of this wrapped into this building, into this place where my partner gives a message of science. Not necessarily a long one, but one which you have to hear. It's about the environment. And let us start with assurance. Let us review one more time that what you are seeing in weather changes on this planet you have not created by yourselves with human effort. What you have called global warming is not global warming at all. And I say it again, it is part of a cycle that always was. The North Pole has melted several times and come back several times. It is a waxing and waning. The water evaporation cycle, it has been here before. It is here sooner than expected, and that is alarming. If you were to ask Gaia, the actual energy of Gaia right now, to come into this place, Gaia would give this message: humans have not caused this. Could it be any clearer? And I give you this information so there would be no alarm sounded of things that you would have to change drastically and dramatically. Now, at the same time I would say that, I would say this: there is a mandate to change your energy. What you put into the air is significant, for it is a hazard to your health. What you put into the air hurts humanity, not necessarily Gaia. Gaia is more resilient than you think. Gaia adjusts in ways you don't expect. Gaia takes care of Gaia. Clean up the air, and you will live longer. And that is one of the subjects of today. It's going to get colder. That's one of the subjects of today. You're going to need more energy. That is the subject of today. And we have given you the steps of creating energy easily. And we've given you advice in the past. And one of them we wish to revisit. For it's time for you to think out of the box of three-dimensional when it comes to some of the things that we have discussed with you. You think in a straight line. You don't think past necessarily certain things that you assume. At the same time I give you this information, I will also tell you that this particular information is already known on the planet. It is the way of it. We do not give you something that has not already occurred to a human being. Free choice is what we have told you is the operative word. Even in science, this must have occurred, and a human being must have had a situation where they're actually aware before we will give you a message like this. And the reason we do it is because one human being aware sometimes could do nothing about it. But the thought is given. When these thoughts are given to humanity, they normally land on the planet in more than one place. That is to say, epiphanies of discovery happen all at once, usually 3 to 4 times, in order to assure that they will not be lost. And so I am going to add this voice. There is tremendous energy available from the earth for free. It is not free energy, for you have to build an extractor to get it. But it's everywhere. Absolutely everywhere. It is called geothermal energy. And it goes like this. Below your feet, not very far, not really. It's hot. Hot enough for you to drill down and create steam. If you can create steam through natural process of thermal energy of the planet, you can drive turbines and create electricity. That will create heat. There are other ways to create heat as well, using even the geothermal heat itself. You're fond of steam engines, and you've been using them very, very long time, and you continue to. Today's nuclear reactors are simply very, very expensive steam engines. For you heat water, you create steam, and you drive turbines. So we are giving you something to think about. For nuclear power, as good as it is not clean. There is a side effect. And you know what it is. For there are waste products which are dangerous, and you know this. As clean as it is, there is still something you have to dispose of. Geothermal, there is no thing you have to dispose of. But it is dangerous. And now we open the discussion. If you can drill approximately 5 kilometers down, you will find enough heat. Now 5 kilometers to you is not that far in a straight line along the surface of the earth. Many of you walk that distance to school and work. It's not that far. But if you're going to drill down technically, it becomes difficult and dangerous. Not just dangerous for the driller, but dangerous for the planet. On the way down, through the crust of the earth, to the 5 kilometer mark, you go through pockets that you might know are there, releasing gas perhaps, releasing fire perhaps, releasing water perhaps. If nothing else, sometimes you interrupt what we will call the integrity of the lubricant of the shale itself. And what I'm saying here is you might even advance the potential of an earthquake, all by drilling down only 5 kilometers. And so I'm going to give you the answer. And now I'm saying, think out of the box. All along you're thinking that you're going to drill down and put a pipe with water in it. What if I told you you only had to drill down a fraction of that distance, and you could find enough heat to boil? And you'd say, impossible. Oh, it exists over the hot spots of the earth, but you might know it doesn't exist in most of the places we're asking you to drill. Well, it will work if you don't use water. It's time to marry the highest technology that you have on the planet with things you didn't expect to marry them with. And this is thinking out of the box. This is becoming a little more quantum, seeing the entire picture instead of just seeing what you think it should be. There are solutions, and you know what they are, and they're elegant, that will boil at a fraction of the temperature that water will. And this is the answer. Learning to use those substances and those fluids and that chemistry into a geothermal machine that doesn't have to drill down 5 kilometers. How about 2? And we tell you this because you're going to need to do this. And if you do it, and if the advice is followed, you'll find that the timing and the synchronicity of discovery is at hand. That is to say, you will understand these things will fall together. You will get the steam engine, and it won't take 5 years to build, and it won't be dangerous, and you don't have to cover it with a shell. Much easier. It won't belch smoke. It won't pollute. And you don't have to worry about being next to it. And it'll drive electricity. And you're going to need to heat homes and businesses. Because eventually, it's going to get cold. That's number 1. We're going to give you one other invention. Now, this also has been presented on the planet. This has been thought of and not acted upon. This actually is not all that new. But I will tell you that there is a situation at hand where it was inappropriately purchased and pocketed. So I'm going to give it to you so that the public can see it, and anyone with synchronicity who listens to the message and reads the words will understand it. Even you sitting in the chairs will understand it. And the scientists and the physicists will then have to implement it. The resource that this planet is going to need the most, as the population grows, as the weather changes, is what you probably already have guessed. Fresh water. Already it's becoming scarce. You will notice the snow is falling in the wrong place. The reservoirs are built for the old energy with the old weather. The aqueducts are built for the old energy and the old weather, and all the snow is falling in the places that are not obtainable for fresh water, and that will be the way of it. As the populations grow, scarce it becomes. And there is one answer. It is a profound way, when the earth is mostly water, to use the sea and the ocean. The ocean, of course, is not fresh water. And so you have to ask how to extract the salt. Desalinization exists today in a very inefficient way. Large amounts of water have to go into vats of containment and sit there, or large amounts of energy are used to heat the water. In various ways, various attributes, various systems, some of them steam, some of them not, all requiring heat to take out the salt. It takes a long time, it's expensive, it's not efficient. It is not tenable to desalinate for an entire city. Only in places that simply have no fresh water at all is it used. So inefficient is it. Now I'm asking you to think out of the box, and I'm going to give you the answer. My partner, I want you to go slow here. Most of the cities on Earth, of all of the countries on Earth, the largest ones are on the coasts near the water. This is because over time, those coastal areas were the places where trade could happen with ships and ports. And so you end up with the largest cities being on the ocean. It's a good place to start, is it not? To give water for them from the source which they can simply look at and use. The answer is not that difficult, but it requires something that has not been thought of, really. The highest technology you have today has to do with the smallest of the small. You call it nanotechnology. That which is extremely small, even taking form as what you would call robots, that could be inserted even into the bloodstream, perhaps even to seek out and kill disease. That's how small the nanoparticles are. You're making them intelligent through chemistry, through logic, through electronics, and cleverly you find that they can do many things. Now I'm going to give you a task. You're going to build a desalinization plant where the water never stops flowing, where it can be treated and salt can be removed and a byproduct created that you had no idea about. It never has to rest. It never has to be cooked. There is no heat involved at all. It goes in one end and comes out the other in a steady flow. In one end it's salty, in the other end it's fresh, ready then for purification. And here is the answer. Through nanotechnology, in the first stages of the system with the water flowing, you release enough nanotechnology robots that are assigned to find the salt and attach themselves to it. Except there is a caveat, and that every single robot is magnetic. I am the magnetic master, after all. All of the salt then becomes magnetic. It's not that hard. You have the chemistry for it. You have the nanotechnology. Think out of the box. Think out of the box. Chemist, physicist, you can do it. On to the next stage, flowing into the next part, tremendous, huge electromagnets, pulling the salt out of the water completely and totally because the salt is magnetic. Out it goes. Oversimplified, perhaps, but this is the way of it. No heat involved. Now, the byproduct? You won't believe it. Oh, and it will be controversial when you discover it. Magnetic fields applied to water often creates water that is quite healing. Do you see where this is going? What a device that might be. It will be quantum, you know, because it uses magnetics. And this is what we wanted to give you today. This is what we wanted to have recorded today. In this way, that you might hear it. There is so much more. And just in closing, I will tell you what we see in the future, and we're not going to give you a time frame, for there is none. This information I'm about to give you can be 2 generations away, maybe 3. But it all has to do with quantum invention. Physicists, listen, I'm going to give you something you already know is possible. It is another field of science that flies in the face of everything 3-dimensional you've ever learned. Humans are funny. Even in the highest math and geometry you have, everything is defined in a straight line. Everything defined in a straight line. A circle is an infinite number of straight lines. That's funny. It's almost as though a circle didn't exist in nature. And the human has to straight line it for it to exist. Interesting, isn't it? I'm just giving you the bias. Bubbles have always been around. They're beautiful, you know. They're natural, you know. The circle is a natural occurring event in space as well. What you don't know, and you may suspect, gravity and magnetism all bend. They don't go straight. They never have. What about light? It doesn't either, when affected by the other two. That ought to tell you something. Nothing is really a straight line at all. The only straight lines around are in the brains of the humans. You're not using the right kind of math either, and we've told you that. There is an elegance of math that is quantum. And if I begin to tell you about it, even in the simplest terms, it's going to seem overly complex. Quantum math uses something that is going to be discovered, and we're going to give it a name, and that's going to be influential numbers. Numbers that exist not with empirical values, but with values that are influenced by the numbers around them. 4 is not a 4. 4 is modified because of the numbers that sit next to it. In a formula, in linearity, in counting, each time a formula is manufactured in a quantum state, looking for a solution, all of the numbers are modified by the numbers next to them. They're influential numbers. The 4 is affected by the 5. Reduced maybe by the 3. And in quantum math, if you use influential numbers, dear ones, it is a beautiful thing when you find out the attributes of them and they are consistent. You will then have the formula for a circle being a whole number, not an irrational number at all. It won't be pi. It'll be pi solved. We ask the physicists to work it backwards if you have to get a whole number of pi. That'll give you a hint at what has to be done. Imagine mathematics with influential numbers, where each number is not empirical, but influenced by the one around it. I'm giving you high math now. And here's how it's going to serve you. Because when you start to understand it, you're finally going to understand what I'm going to call the holy grail of physics. That's a human term. In your straight line thinking, in your bias, you have all of your 3D formulas, don't you? And when you look at the basis of physics, you talk about those things which have mass. And in those things which have mass, you've even figured out atomic structure and density. All those things. And you think they're static, don't you? You think there is a formula that is for everything. If it has so much mass, it weighs so much in a certain atmosphere, a certain gravity. You've got it all figured out. And I will tell you that all of those formulas are 3D. And as soon as you become quantum with them, they all stretch. All this to tell you this: it is possible for you to alter the mass of any object in existence. It doesn't matter how large or small or dense it is. You can alter the mass of it, and you have thought all this time that the formula is static, and it is not. In Yugoslavia, there's a workshop. Historic it is, for the man who thought out of the box, Tesla. Tesla. And in that workshop there are marks on the ceiling for the objects that took off on his workbench and went straight up. Shattered they did, hitting the ceiling they did. Nikolai was frustrated, for he had discovered massless objects and didn't know how. He thought out of the box, the only one in existence to ever give you a thought of how alternating current might work. Oh, it's more than 3D, study it. The same applies with numbers. The same applies with mass. And I will tell you that it is accomplished through magnetics. Always has been. And that was the experiment. In Tesla's time, without a computer, without any of the finite instruments you have today to measure what you have, he did it. But he couldn't control it. Frustrated he was. By the way, he's back. I'm not going to tell you where. Maybe he will listen to this and know what to do next. Clever it is how magnetic fields must be arranged around other magnetic fields. Even solutions that are magnetized to create fields within fields, sometimes at right angles, sometimes not, to give you a condition that will create a change in mass. None of these things are out of the purview of human development. How long it'll take? We don't know. That's up to you. But do you understand what it will change? That means that the things of science fiction are finally yours. What you call anti-gravity is simply an object without mass. It'll float, no matter how big. It's doable. It's in all of your science fiction movies. Maybe it's time to implement it. Kryon, why do you give us these things? And with this we close. We want you to stay here. Give it in love. We want you to stay here. And you're not going to have much luck with that unless you start thinking quantum. Unless you start accelerating the inventions and put some of the politics out of the way. For the countries which must do this are the ones that have the highest technical abilities. And they also have the highest influential structures that are in the way of it all. It is time for the population to understand this and turn the physicists loose and not strap them with those things that are difficult, with burdens. And maybe you don't know what I speak of, but they do. Because we want you to stay. In the process there will be life extension. In the process there will be epiphanies. In the process you might even find that this message was accurate and true. And then you've got a puzzle, don't you? Physicists, if you're listening to this, you've got a puzzle. Because who is it who is speaking from the other side of the veil, giving you information that is true and real and scientific? At some level you're going to have to say, it's the piece of you. At some level you're going to have to admit that the spiritual and the sciences have lied. And that the creative energy that created the earth and the magnetics and the gravity and all of the things you study is a piece of you. And maybe then you'll open up. And the things that you wish to have invented, all you have to do is open the box, because you already were there and you helped in their creation. How about that one? It all has to do with the puzzle. Is this real or not? Is Kryon real or not? Is love real or not? Well, some of you know, because you've sat in the presence of the Creator today, who loves you. This family on my side of the veil loves you. It's a wonderful Valentine message, isn't it? And so we say to you, dear ones, all of you, that all of the things that we talk about, whether they're scientific, whether they have to do with your Akash or your soul, the higher self, all of those things, there's only one purpose. To make the life you are living on this planet easier. For you to discover the compassion that is the glue that puts you together. That changes the earth itself. For the shift is upon you. And that which you call the 2012 energy is here. Let this be what it is supposed to be. A high time of consciousness, of scientific evolution with integrity, with an economy that is a re-emergent one with integrity, with government that slowly changes with integrity. Things that you would never put together, that in the past were oxymorons, couldn't exist together. Integrity and government, integrity and insurance, integrity with banking. All of these things, a new paradigm is upon you. This shift is difficult. And we have the warrior and the worker in the chairs in front of me. And they know it, because that's why they came. I know who you are. And I celebrate each one. And so it is.
Greetings, dear ones. I'm Kryon of Magnetic Service. It has been mentioned that there are those who are unseen that know who you are, who are here. And I mean here. If you're a visitor listening to this later, here means here for you as well. This is a sacred space that you have decided to listen to. And if you continue listening, all of the energies that are in this room at the moment are yours as well. Humans, everyone, respected, honored, everyone. There is an entourage that doesn't just accompany me. It's an entourage that is developed from the various soul energies in the room. An entourage that comes to watch, honor, sometimes seemingly sit in your lap, knock on your nose, just to say, we're here, we're here, we're here. Years ago I said it, you're never alone. We mean this. It's impossible. Because of the system that is spiritual, the system, if you wish, of God. You come to a place and you finally understand and realize, number one, you're part of the system. Number two, you're here temporarily. This soul journeying that you do, you're here temporarily until the next journey in the next life, same soul. And so, dear ones, we're looking at ancients among you. And there is so much honor that you made it, that you've come, that you're here. Inside you, human being, right now, there is an active record of everything you've ever done on this planet. Everything. It lands eventually in your DNA. As you reincarnate, the last lifetime is then included, and you come in with that, fresh. Everything that you have ever experienced is there. And as we've taught before, it's not a linear representation as you would get in a book. The Akashic record is not about the activities of a human. It's about the energies. What was it like for you? Short lifetimes, long ones, various places of the planet, different cultures, different faces, different languages, different food. What was it like to be in the wars, to be a warrior and kill others, to be on the battlefield and be killed? All of you were. All of you. What's it like to be drowned? So many of you were. What's it like to lose children? And you would say that must be awful. It is. It still is. But when you come into a planet where every other child lives, you don't even name them till they're 3 months old. What's it like? What's it like to wake up and realize that you have information as an old soul that goes against that which is taught about God? Do you shut up or do you not? What's it like to be ostracized away from anyone else in the village, to live alone and only be kept alive because you have the magic, they think, because you have the intuition to keep them alive, perhaps some potions, some information from Gaia and the earth to heal those around you? This is your life. This is who I talk to, old soul. What's it like for me to tell you there are civilizations you lived in you have no idea about? And yet your Akash carries them all. And the information that is in this multidimensional space of storage within every single human listening now, that information is profound with energy. What kind of energy is it? Well, it's remembered things. We've talking about this before. We've said the difference between the Akashic Records reaction and what it means 10 years ago and today is vastly different. That's what's changing. In an older energy, the Akashic Record comes up and it then gives you information of remembrance, and sometimes it's difficult. Why would that be? Kryon, why is the Akash so disturbing to some that we have to have readers help us to dismiss certain things in our memory? Keeps us awake at night. It's difficult to work with. Why would that be? What kind of a system does that? And here's the answer. It's a system of free choice. As goes the consciousness of the human being, goes the consciousness of remembrance of the Akash. You remember dramatic things. Things that go bump in the night. Things that you don't want to remember. Feelings you can't explain. That's been the way of it. Until now. Last week we gave you information and exercise, words if you wish, and reminded you of the power you have over your own body, and in this energy, the appropriateness of reframing the Akash. Demanding in your own words that the Akash stop remembering the negativity and the drama and start remembering the beauty. Remembering the good times, what it felt like for all of you as a woman to give birth. What it felt like for all of you as a man to watch it. The pride, the joy, the overwhelming beauty, the benevolence. It's there. It's all there. To command your Akash to stop with the old energy programs, the tapes that play, and instead give you something you didn't expect. Beautiful memories. It changes that residual buzzing in the background. We told you that. Now, where does it go from here? It may seem like we're going to skip around, but I'm going to tell you what has happened to the Akash, what it became. Now, the Akash has never changed, but human beings saw it and rewrote the rules. I'll tell you about that. So you have a bit of an understanding about the buzz that some of you have. But not before an update. There are those listening to this now who were there last week. There are those who not only participated in the exercise, but will listen to the channel and participate again. Those who have never heard of it will hear it the first time and participate. There will be thousands who will participate. There will be some who feel something, as I said. There will be some who don't. Because timing is everything. You are unique on this planet. There is never a time when we give you information of one esoteric pill does one thing for everybody. It doesn't. It doesn't. Some of you must work at it and work into it, must do it a number of times if you wish. Although I'll tell you, the body hears it the first time. Oh, it hears it. Hears it and starts working on it, even though you don't think it does. Here's an update. There are some of you, not necessarily in this audience, but the ones hearing me now, who've had some interesting dreams all of a sudden. A dream that would put you back into circumstances that were uncomfortable. Circumstances that made you less than. Putting you back into a time when there was betrayal. Putting you back into uncomfortable work situations or things that happen. And you're put back in the dream, and there they are happening again. And you wake up in the morning and you'll say, this isn't really what I had hoped for. And now I have what they call a bad taste in my mouth for the whole day because that dream was so real. I didn't need to go back and feel that all again. Oh, yes, you did. And here's why, because that was your closure. You had to go back. You had to look it in the face. Sometimes there are things you never wanted to look at. Some of you are not done yet. This is the Akashic record at its best. It's the Akashic record for this lifetime at its best. Things that have happened to you that you go back and revisit. In the Akash, a drowning, a death, or a time perhaps on the battlefield where you took a life and it stuck with you for ages, and suddenly here comes the dream and you just feel awful. You'll say, I just killed somebody and I feel it all over. It's the worst thing that ever happened to me. I couldn't do that, but I did it. I can feel it. Or I was just killed. Or I drowned. Whatever it was. Then you'll wonder, what is the appropriateness of that? I'll tell you, it's a closure. It means it's gone. That's what it means. And if you're one who had one of those dreams, congratulations. It's working. Do you see how this works? It's working. You have to go there because you didn't want to face it. Even in a dream. You have to go there and be uncomfortable for a moment in a dream. Doesn't hurt you. But for those moments, the Akash is working with you to say, in order to dismiss this, you got to look at it. And you are, many of you. And in the looking at it, there is full and complete clearing. It's not coming back. Not coming back. This is the power you have today, and we talked about it last week. I want to talk about the Akash. It's beautiful. What a system. It's a system of remembrance. Can you imagine opening an Akashic book with one page? One page is everything you've ever done. Because it's multidimensional, the one page is thousands of volumes of energy that are multidimensional. They come flying out. They go all over the walls and the ceiling. They're not in order. They don't have to be. And you look at the ones that are different colors because they have different energies. Can you imagine going back and seeing who you were, what you've accomplished? Do you think that there's a measurement in the Akashic record, not of horror, but of beauty? Do you think there's a measurement of wisdom? How much did you learn? And how would you like to have that presented to you today, so that you can walk from place to place and not make the same mistakes, so you can know when someone's telling you the truth, when you can feel when you get up in the morning a benevolence that says, this is a good day. It's a good day because I'm here. It's a good day because the sacredness in me sees the sacredness in Gaia. It's a good day because I know my ancestors. It's a good day because those who interface with me today will also feel it. And it may be as simple as you and your children. They'll feel it. You and somebody at work, they'll feel it. This is the difference between human beings who are always affected by the noise, the buzz, that in the Akash, which is always there, that has always kept you away from the magnificence that you deserve. And we dealt with it last week. I'll tell you what happened in history. The Akashic record has been with you since the seeding of the Pleiadians. When you started receiving the sacred information from the very, very top, either original or you got it from an ancestor, and you started to awaken with spiritual knowledge. The old souls of this planet have always had it. You are the ones that hold this information. It's beautiful, and it's simple. You came from the stars. You came from that which is God. You're seen by God as beautiful. And the God that you were introduced to, the Spirit, if you wish, the creative source, if you wish, was so far above any consciousness that you have ever seen on this planet that you can't describe it. Pure love. Pure love. Shining brighter than anything you can ever imagine. All it is pure love and compassion. So beautiful that when you return to the other side of the veil, you're part of it. You wash in the beauty of the song that plays that makes your heart sing with it. That's God. I can't even give you anything bigger. You wouldn't see it. You wouldn't understand it. That's God. Human beings began to evolve. Systems started. One of the first systems in this civilization you call Hinduism. We have spoken of this even in India, where we, for the first time, revealed things. This was the original system approach, later becoming that with Buddha. But it featured something. The Hindu system was profitless, right to the source. You didn't go through anyone. Nobody had to do anything. There was an acknowledgement of oneness with everything. There still is today. But the Akashic record developed into something different. Enter karma. Karma is a direct derivative of the Akashic energy. Things that happen to you that then lay energy in certain ways that invite you to clear them. And the system would invite you to clean up that which you didn't want and work with other entities of Hinduism that would help you clear negativity to the point where you did not have the karma anymore. You could clear it. You could go to a place where you were in full enlightenment because you did not have any more karma. Now, dear ones, do you find that interesting that that's exactly what we did last week? It was a system of clearing the Akash. It is there yet today. When I arrived One of the first things I taught you is that karma worked then, it's no longer needed. You don't have to remember any of these things. It's automatic. Karmic clearing is automatic. Akashic clearing. We told you, you don't need to be pushed around by any energies. At this point in your life, in the spiritual system, karma is no longer needed. That's controversial. But look at who you are today. You're coming in with full knowledge. You don't need things to push and pull you around to learn lessons. You're beyond that. And you come in clean, ready to go to work with that bracelet on we talked about this morning. You've got other things to do besides work with karma. Even this day, there are those who say, what do I do about the karma? Even after I've said, you don't have it. You don't have to worry about it. There are those who will argue. I want you just to look at yourself, say, do I need it? Really? At this point in my spirituality as an old soul in this new energy, does it hurt me or help me? Does it hinder my path? Does it enhance me? You make up your own mind. Don't you find it interesting that it was converted into a system that then became karmic? So what happens next is really, really interesting. Because now certain systems, over thousands of years, begin to morph the whole idea. I want to introduce you to the human concept of sin. Now you have something where you start humanizing the system. Humanizing is the word we mean that you reduce all of the parts of the system to fit within what you are, to be that which is human nature. As long ago as you wish, as the Greeks, before sin, they made their gods dysfunctional in order for the mythology of punishment to start. That then graduates and graduates, and finally you have a God who looks at you and judges you for your behavior. Sin is supposed to be defined as anything that displeases God. And I have something to tell you that you may or may not grasp at this point. God is not a human. There is nothing like displeasing, pleasing with the creative source of the universe. It's pure love. It doesn't think like you do. It doesn't have the constructs like you do. There is not even the beginning of a consciousness that would even be close to what you have. Not even close. And yet, you have developed a system, a beautiful love of God, and at the same time, you've made God a bad father. Would any of you take a child, no matter what they've done, and throw them into a place where they're going to be burned alive for eternity? Which one of you parents will raise your hand and say, well, yeah, they've done some bad stuff, that's what they deserve? And there's not one of you. There's not one of you. And yet you place that on the creative source. Yep, that sure is the way God works, you say. No, it isn't. The entire construct of sin and punishment developed completely and totally from the human mind. A human being's construct put upon the Almighty, creator of the universe. Does not work that way. There were no wars in heaven. And all of this literally coming from the Akashic record. Because the Akashic record has certain energies that when you morph these systems will create guilt. Now you are sorry for what you did that you feel in your Akashic record. It's getting worse, isn't it? Now you sit there and you don't know what to think. If God is real, is God displeased with who I am? I had a dream the other night. I'm not sure what it means, but I'm quite sure I did something wrong. That's why I had the dream. I'm afraid I'm not doing this or that right or wrong. Never understanding at that moment in time This is a derivative of that which is your Akashic record. The energies of your record literally were then converted into karma, then converted into sin and punishment. All these same reactions and feelings then getting lower and lower in a consciousness state to bring you to your knees, human being, where you're afraid of God. Afraid. There's an oxymoron here. It doesn't even make sense that you would bring yourself to a place where you would fear that which was inside you, which is the most benevolent, gorgeous, loving thing that ever could be there. Talked into it, trained into it. This may offend some. That is not the purpose. The purpose is to reveal and enlighten, to open the box, to unseal a grander truth, that there is no judgment, the God that created you out of love. Where is it going next? What's going to happen? Revelation on the planet? Compassion is coming? Reframing and rewriting some of these things that I've just told you. That's what's going to happen. I know this because I've seen it before. I bring you this history to show you where this has come from, what has become it. These wonderful secrets that you had, literally, as a Lemurian, some of you, from the original teaching wheel, had to go underground, not be taught, only be kept. Secret societies you think today are conspiracies. They're only ones who have kept the secrets of what you learned in Lemuria. And in this new energy, they're starting to pop out. You're going to see organizations start to reveal what they know, and they're going to be Metaphysics 101. You're going to start creating organizations yourself to teach these things openly, not in secret. And I remind you, it's one of the first times you've been able to do this without something coming after you or being shut down or worse. There are some who are still afraid to come out of the closet light workers. They don't want to come out of the closet because the last time they did it was awful. And now it won't be. Now I'm going to give you another concept just to make it really confusing. If you're going to become a bit more multidimensional, dear ones, you're going to now have to deal with a different kind of attribute in your Akash. Stand by. So let me reveal, again, the summary, that in this new energy, as bad as it has become, the systems that gave you these things will start to be more enlightened in their approach. They will start to see that it's not commensurate with the love they teach. There will be a lightening of the load. Rules will change slightly, as they have over the eons and decades. It'll start happening again. There will be a return to one of the original ideas that God is inside of every single human. And the respect of that will be seen as primary, no matter who they are or what they believe. That's what they'll have in common. This starts a world that will pull itself out of where they are and have no more war. That's the summary. Now let me tell you something you need to deal with. There is the idea, this train of time you're on is going to create a train which is completely then enlightened, beautiful, clean, clear, ready to move forward in the light with brand new information. Now here, I'm going to tell you something because there will be those who will ask this later when that doesn't happen for them. This is accelerated, advanced information about your Akashic record that you will have to deal with in the ways that you will have presented to you, and also we will talk about in the future. Time is in a circle. Always has been. Time is in a circle. Imagine a railroad track You are on that track as a train, as a human being, a human train, and you are chugging along on that train. You can go as fast as you or slow as you want, but the train doesn't back up. It always goes into the future. That track is always ahead of you, and what's behind you is what you've done. Now that's how you see it. Now I want you to add a little wrinkle to that. That track goes all around the planet. Forget for a moment that you can't put a track on the ocean. Just pretend. And then that means that eventually your future becomes your past. Are you with me so far? Because you're going to start running over the same track in front of you that is your past. And what is it exactly in your past? It's etched in stone in your Akashic record. And whether it includes one civilization or two, it doesn't matter. The concept is this: you're going to meet your Akash in the future. Some of you won't understand what it is and consider that everything you've done has failed because here it is again. Others of you will recognize it. Aha, this is a fractal in time. It is laying on the track because the track remembers what happened. And instead of me absorbing it and taking it on and having to do all this again, we're going to clear it as we go. We're going to expect it to be there. And we're going to see it and we're going to clear it before it ever shows up. Is this too complex? As my partner explained it as I've given it to him, these are the questions that only the future will answer. I've just given you something that's valuable so you won't think you failed, dear ones. Because those of you who have cleared and gone to this place where you say, my Akash is no longer there to irritate me and the benevolence is only there, and suddenly there's something negative. This is the 3D human. In the past, you will say, see, it didn't work. Then you reveal you didn't expect it to work. Then you reveal, and then you reveal. State of mind, how much you cognize these ideas. I'm telling you that there are things on the track in front of you for you and the planet and all these things that will appear, and you will think it's a return to the past, and it isn't. It's something that you're going to have to look at and say, I recognize this. This is old energy. Get away from me. You're not going to go through this again. Give it a name. Put it away. That's coming because you are now covering the same track again that laid those eggs of the Akash that you cleared. Will there come a time, Kryon, when we can clear all of the Akash, including what's on the front of the train? That's an Akashic clearing that would be past, present, and future. That is more complicated. And that's the next step. I'm telling you about this so you won't be surprised. There will be coming processes to help you. But as you understand it, when it comes at you, you won't be confused. You won't think you did something wrong. You won't go back into guilt. And you'll look at it and go, Kryon said it was here. And here it is. And you can laugh. Because it'll disappear as soon as you recognize what it is. It's a past karma that's in front of your train that you cleared. Therefore, it's a phantom. We'll even give it a name. Beware of phantom karma. Beware of phantom Akash. All of that from your past might show up. Just remember this time and call it what it is. This is a complex channel. It's something that you may want to listen to. It's something that you may want to revisit, just to hear these words. I'm about ready to close. Those invisible ones are still here. I want you to feel them for just a moment, and such congratulations to you. If they could put their arms around you, you could feel it. You'd feel so much love. You did it. And they would give you a message that say, don't fear the future. They'd give you a message that say, cast the old fears away. They're not going to come back. It's a brand new path, one that you've never trod before, one without predictions. You're going to lay the track that's never been laid before. That's what it's like. These are the things I have for this day. These are the things for you. And so it is.